Welcome back, survivors. If you're hearing this, you're still one of the lucky few who can catch these late-night frequencies. Before we jump into tonight's story, tap subscribe and drop a comment with where you're listening from, your safe spot, your outpost, anywhere you found to survive. There's a new story coming tomorrow, and you'll want to catch the signal the moment it hits. Recording in progress. Day 287. If anyone receives this, do not respond to transmissions from Bunker 7. Repeat, do not come here. I'm Eli Monroe, and I've made a catastrophic mistake. The thing about talking to yourself for 4 months in isolation, you stop noticing when something starts talking back. I just played back last night's broadcast. My voice says things I never said. Calls coordinates I never gave. And the bunker door, sealed for 287 days, just opened from the outside. Something learned. They're in the corridor. Oh Christ, they're broadcasting too. I cut the transmission. My finger slams the kill switch so hard the plastic cracks. The red live indicator dies. Silence floods the booth like water filling a drowning man's lungs. My breath comes in ragged gasps. The headphones dangle from my shaking hand, still crackling with static. Through the reinforced glass window of the transmission booth, I can see the main communications floor, 40 feet of outdated equipment, blinking servers, and the corridor entrance beyond. The entrance where the blast door stands open. It shouldn't be possible. That door weighs 3 tons. It requires a 12-digit code, a biometric scan, and manual crank operation. I'm the only living person in this facility. I've been the only living person for 123 days. The door is open anyway. I force myself to breathe. Count to 4. Hold. Release. The meditation technique they taught us during orientation back when there were 14 other people here, back when Dr. Sarah Reeves ran psychological wellness checks and Sergeant Jackson Webb maintained security protocols, back before the carbon monoxide leak killed them all in their sleep. My hands move on autopilot, decades of radio training taking over. I pull up the audio file from last night's broadcast, the 1800 hours transmission, my evening check-in. I always record them, always. It's procedure. It's the only thing keeping me sane. I press play. My voice fills the booth, warm and steady, reading poetry. Frost. The woods are lovely, dark and deep. My go-to for evening broadcasts because survivors need beauty, need reminders that humanity created more than just violence and fear. But 30 seconds in, I hear it. My voice. Speaking under my voice. Like a second recording layered beneath the first, slightly out of sync. Bunker 7 coordinates, 38.5 degrees north, 79.8 west, multiple supply caches, medical equipment functional, approach from Eastern Ridge, we're waiting. Ice floods my veins. I never said those words. The playback continues. My surface voice keeps reading Frost, but underneath, that other version of me keeps talking, giving specific directions. Promising safety, using my credibility, my 6 months of trusted broadcasts to lure people here. To this place where the door now stands open, I kill the playback. My reflection stares back from the darkened monitor, 38 years old but looking 50, beard grown wild, eyes hollowed by months of fluorescent lighting and canned food. The bunker's recycled air tastes like metal and desperation. A sound cuts through the silence, footsteps. Not the shambling, dragging shuffle of the infected I've heard on surveillance footage from topside. These are deliberate, purposeful. The wet slap of bare feet on concrete, moving in rhythm. Multiple sets. They're inside. My hand finds the control panel, fingers dancing across buttons I could operate blind. The security monitors flicker to life, showing camera feeds from throughout the facility. Corridor B, generator room, medical wing, storage level, all empty. Then movement on camera 7. The main access tunnel. Figures emerge from the darkness beyond the blast door. 3 of them. 4. No, more. They move wrong, bodies jerking with that distinctive infected twitch, but their formation is organized, coordinated. They're not attacking each other. They're not wandering aimlessly. They're searching. The lead figure stops directly under camera 7. It tilts its head up, and even through the grainy feed, I can see its eyes. Milky white, pupils blown. Its jaw hangs loose, and its skin has the gray-green pallor of advanced decomposition, but it's looking directly at the camera. Its mouth moves. No sound reaches me through the monitor, but I know what it's doing. It's speaking. My stomach clenches. I switch the audio feed on. Static pours through the speakers. Beneath it, something else. A voice, distorted and wet, struggling through a throat that no longer works properly. My voice. Hello, Eli. We've been listening. The figure waves, then the lights go out. Emergency backup power activating in 3, 2. The emergency lights kick in, bathing everything in red. The backup generator hums beneath my feet, a sound I've grown to hate because it means something has gone catastrophically wrong. Again. I'm moving before conscious thought catches up. Muscle memory from endless drills with Webb back when he still believed we'd make it out alive. My hand finds the lockdown lever on the booth's control panel. I yank it down. Steel shutters slam across the transmission booth's glass window with a metallic shriek. Electromagnetic locks engage with a series of heavy clicks. The booth is now a sealed box. 32 square feet of reinforced steel and outdated broadcasting equipment. My tomb or my salvation, depending on how the next few minutes play out. The monitors still work. Backup power keeps the security system running for exactly this scenario. I watch the infected spread through the facility like blood through water. Their movements unnaturally synchronized. They don't run, don't rush. They flow, checking each room with systematic precision. They're hunting. One stops outside Medical Bay C, where we stored Sarah's body after the leak. I couldn't bring myself to move her to cold storage. Couldn't face the walk down there with her wrapped in plastic sheeting. The infected tilts its head, studying the sealed door, then moves on. It knows she's dead. It's looking for the living, looking for me. My radio crackles to life. I didn't turn it on. The master switch is still flipped to off, the transmission killed. But the speakers activate anyway, and my own voice pours out, distorted by static and something wet. Eli, we know. You're there, can feel your heartbeat through the floor. I slam my hand over my mouth to stop the scream. They can't actually feel my heartbeat. That's impossible. It's psychological warfare trying to break me, make me panic, make me run. But the tactical part of my brain, the part Webb trained during those first weeks, whispers, what if they can? The infected have always responded to sound, to movement, to the electromagnetic signatures of functioning technology. What if the hive consciousness they've developed can sense more than that? What if they've evolved to detect bioelectric fields, heat signatures, the tiny vibrations of a human heart pumping blood? What if I've been broadcasting my location just by being alive? On the monitors, the infected converge on the communications floor. 12 of them now, moving in formation like a disturbed organism flowing toward an irritant. They surround the transmission booth, pressing against the shuttered windows, and I can hear them through the reinforced walls, scratching, tapping, testing for weakness. One climbs onto the equipment rack beside the booth. Its face appears on camera 3, inches from the lens. Half its jaw is missing, teeth exposed in a permanent grimace. But its eyes track the camera with focused intelligence. It mouths words. I switch the audio feed. Day 287, it says in my voice, perfectly mimicking my cadence, my inflections. This is Eli Monroe, broadcasting from Bunker 7. If you're receiving this transmission, you are not alone. It's reciting my standard opening, word for word. Another infected joins in, then another, until all 12 are speaking in unison, their broken voices creating a chorus of my own words echoing back at me. We are the voice of hope. We are the light in the darkness. We are what survives. My skin crawls. Those are my words, my promises. Every broadcast for 6 months, building trust, creating connection, giving survivors something to believe in, and they absorbed it all. The chorus stops. Silence fills the booth, broken only by my ragged breathing and the hum of backup power. Then a single infected speaks, and its voice is clearer now, almost human. We learned from you, Eli. Learned that voices create trust, that humans come when called. You taught us how to hunt. The transmission board lights up. Incoming signal. Someone's trying to reach me on the emergency frequency. The display shows coordinates, 40 miles north. A survivor group. They heard my broadcasts. They're asking for sanctuary. The infected watch the display through the security camera, waiting. One of them grins with whatever remains of its face. Answer them, my voice commands through the speaker. Call them here, like you always do. My hand hovers over the transmit button. 40 miles. A day's travel through infected territory. If I don't respond, they might try to reach the bunker anyway, following the coordinates I broadcasted for months. If I do respond, I'll be helping the hive lure them to their deaths. The incoming signal repeats, more desperate now. Bunker 7, this is Northern Refuge Convoy. We have wounded. Children, please respond. We're running out of time. Children. The infected press closer to the booth walls, waiting for my choice. The emergency frequency crackles with a child's voice. Hello? Is anybody there? Please? We need help. My finger touches the transmit button. I pull my finger back from the button like it's burning metal. My breath fogs in the recycled air. When did it get so cold? The booth's temperature regulation must be failing. Or maybe it's just fear, leaching the warmth from my blood. The child's voice repeats through the speaker. Please, my sister is sick. We saw your broadcasts. You said we'd be safe. 14 infected faces watch me through the camera feeds, motionless, patient. They know I'm listening, know I'm breaking. I switch the radio to manual override and grab the microphone. My voice comes out raw, urgent. Northern Refuge, this is Bunker 7. Do not approach this location. Repeat, do not approach. The facility is compromised. Infected inside. They're using my broadcast to... The transmission cuts. Not from my end. The signal just dies, replaced by empty static. I check the equipment. Everything shows green. The transmission sent. They should have received it. Then my own voice fills the booth again, broadcast on the same frequency I just used. Northern Refuge, this is Bunker 7. We read you clearly. Coordinates confirmed. Medical supplies ready. Approach from the eastern ridge for safety. We're waiting. My blood turns to ice. They're overriding my signal, broadcasting their own message using my voice, my credibility, my 6 months of earned trust. The survivors won't know the difference. To them, it's still me, still the voice that kept them alive, told them stories, made them believe humanity had a future. The hive has weaponized hope itself. On the monitor, the infected begin to move. Not toward me, toward the exit. They're leaving, flowing back through the blast door like a receding tide. Within 90 seconds, the communications floor is empty. The corridor cameras show them ascending the access tunnel, disappearing into the darkness above. They're going to wait outside, set an ambush, and when Northern Refuge arrives, following the coordinates I just gave them, I slam my fist against the console. Pain shoots through my knuckles, sharp and clarifying. Think. Webb trained you for this. What would he do? The sergeant's voice echoes in my memory, rough with cigarettes and paranoia. In psychological warfare, Eli, the only winning move is to change the game board. I pull up the facility schematics on the secondary monitor. Bunker 7 isn't just a communications hub. It's a relic from the Cold War, designed to survive nuclear strikes and Soviet infiltration. That means contingencies, fail-safes, things even the hive consciousness couldn't have learned from my broadcasts because I never knew about them myself. My fingers fly across the keyboard, accessing Webb's encrypted files. He gave me the password 3 days before he died, scrawled on a scrap of paper with shaking hands. If things go wrong. The files open. Mission protocols, security overrides, and buried deep in a folder marked Last Resort, blueprints for the bunker's original defense system, the EMP array, my heart hammers, an electromagnetic pulse weapon installed in the 1960s, designed to fry Soviet surveillance equipment within a 5-mile radius. It draws power from the nuclear reactor core, charges for 60 seconds, then releases a pulse that disables every electronic device within range, including the infected's networked consciousness, but also including my broadcasting equipment, my only link to the outside world, the one thing keeping me from disappearing into complete isolation. And there's another problem. The array requires manual activation from the reactor level, 3 floors down. Through corridors now crawling with infected, The emergency frequency crackles. Bunker 7, this is Northern Refuge. Confirming approach, ETA 4 hours. Thank you. You have no idea what this means to us. 4 hours, I stare at the schematics. The route to the reactor winds through Medical Bay C, past the bodies of my former colleagues, through the generator room where Webb's corpse still sits with a bullet through its skull. The infected will know the moment I leave this booth. They'll feel the electromagnetic signature of the doors opening, hear my footsteps through whatever sensory network they've developed. But if I don't go, those people die. Those children die. And I become what the hive wants me to be. A lure, a trap, a voice that kills instead of saves. I check the booth's emergency supplies. 1 flare gun, 6 flares, a combat knife Webb made me carry, a half-empty canteen, and in the bottom drawer, wrapped in an oil-stained cloth, Webb's service pistol, the one he used on himself. I pick it up. The weight is familiar from the range training he insisted on. 15 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, 16 shots between me and the reactor. I flip the lockdown lever. The steel shutters retract with a mechanical whine that sounds like screaming. The booth door unseals with a hiss of pressurized air. The communications floor stretches before me, bathed in red emergency lighting. Empty. But I can hear them in the walls, in the ventilation system, scratching and whispering. We know. You're coming, Eli. I step out of the booth. The floor is cold through my boots. My breath comes in visible puffs. Behind me, the radio continues broadcasting. Automated messages I recorded months ago cycling on endless repeat. My voice filling the dark, calling survivors home. I start walking toward the corridor, toward Medical Bay C, toward the reactor, toward the bodies. Something moves in the shadows ahead. A figure emerging from the darkness. It wears the tattered remains of a military uniform. Sergeant Jackson Webb stands in the corridor, or what used to be Webb. His dead eyes find mine, and his broken jaw works to form words in my stolen voice. Hello, old friend. Going somewhere? The dead remember everything. Webb shouldn't be standing. I saw his body, sat with it for 3 hours in the generator room, trying to understand why he'd given up. The entrance wound was clean, temple angled upward. Textbook self-inflicted. No one survives that. But there he is, swaying slightly in the red emergency light. His uniform is stiff with dried blood. The right side of his skull is caved in, bone fragments visible through matted hair, but his eyes track me with focused attention. You look terrible, Monroe, Webb's corpse says in my voice. Each word comes out wet, struggling through a throat that shouldn't function. 4 months, alone. Must be hard. I raise the pistol. My hands don't shake. Webb trained that out of me. You're not him. The thing wearing Webb's face tilts its head. Not entirely. But I have his memories. Know what he knew. Felt what he felt. It taps its ruined skull. Right before the end. Want to know what he was thinking? I don't answer, can't. My finger rests on the trigger, but I can't squeeze. It's still Webb's face. Webb's stance. That characteristic weight shift to his left leg from the knee injury in Fallujah. He was thinking about you, Webb continues. His voice is getting clearer with each word, as if the hive is learning to control the damaged vocal cords better. How you weren't ready, couldn't survive, alone. How leaving you here was worse than the bullet. Shut up. My voice cracks. He was right, wasn't he? Look at you, talking to yourself for months, broadcasting to nothing, going insane. I force myself to breathe. Get out of my way. Webb doesn't move. Behind him, more figures emerge from Medical Bay C. I recognize them all. Dr. Sarah Reeves, her lab coat dark with decomposition fluids. Private Danny Hayes, barely 22 when he suffocated. Lieutenant Patricia Vance. Engineer Thomas Reed. All 14 of them, standing in formation like they used to during morning briefings. My former colleagues, my friends, now puppets for something that learned to think by listening to my voice. The reactor, Sarah's corpse says, her voice also mine, also wrong. You want to Activate the EMP array. Destroy our consciousness. Save those people coming here. They know. Of course they know. They've been in the system, in the equipment, learning the bunker's secrets while I hid in the booth. It won't work, Webb says. The reactor core requires 2 people for manual activation. Safety protocol. You can't do it alone. And we're all that's left. My stomach drops. I pull up the mental image of the reactor schematics. He's right. The activation requires simultaneous input at 2 control stations, 15 feet apart, designed to prevent accidents, sabotage, or a single person going rogue. I can't be in 2 places at once. So you see, the problem, Webb continues, you need us, need our help, or those people die anyway. It's a trap. Has to be. But the clock is ticking. 3 hours and 40 minutes until Northern Refuge arrives, until children walk into an ambush because they trusted my voice. What do you want? I ask. The infected move closer, forming a semicircle around me. Their collective attention is overwhelming, like being watched by a single massive eye split into 14 pieces. A trade, Webb says. We help you. Activate the array. Save your survivors. But first, you do something for us. What? Sarah steps forward. Her decomposing face attempts something like a smile. One more broadcast. Just one. We'll even let you write it. Say whatever you want, but you transmit using the main array. Full power, maximum range. My mind races. They want me to broadcast for them, use my credibility to reach every remaining survivor in the region. But why? What could one broadcast give them that 6 months of automated messages haven't already? We're learning so much, Sarah continues, from you, from your words, your emotions, your humanity, but we need more. Need to understand how you think when you know you're dying. The truth hits me like a physical blow. They don't just want a broadcast. They want to study my final transmission, my last words, the psychological profile of a human facing extinction. They want to learn how to be perfectly human so they can hunt better. And if I refuse, Webb gestures toward the corridor, then we wait here. Block your path. 4 hours becomes 3 becomes 2. Those people arrive. We feed. And you listen from your booth while children scream. The pistol feels impossibly heavy in my hand. 16 rounds. 14 targets. But even if I could bring myself to shoot Webb's corpse, his face, his body, they'd just overwhelm me, tear me apart, and Northern Refuge would still die. How do I know you'll keep your word? Webb laughs. It sounds like choking. Because we're not animals anymore. We learned honor from you. Learned keeping. Promises builds trust. We want to be more like you, Eli. That's the whole point. They've become a twisted mirror of everything I tried to teach through my broadcasts. Hope, trust, cooperation, all weaponized, all wrong. But they're offering the only chance those people have. One broadcast, I say slowly. Then you help me activate the array. One broadcast, Webb agrees. Your final transmission, make it count. They part, creating a path back to the communications booth. An honor guard of corpses escorting me to my last performance. As I walk past Webb, he grabs my shoulder with a hand that's cold and stiff, leans close, and for just a second I hear something underneath the hive's voice, a fragment of the real Webb, trapped and screaming inside the network. Kill me, the fragment whispers. Please. Then it's gone, buried under the collective consciousness. The booth feels different now, smaller. The walls press in like a coffin. 14 corpses stand outside the glass, watching with synchronized patience, waiting for me to perform, waiting to learn. I sit at the transmission desk. My hands hover over the equipment I've operated for 287 days. The microphone that carried my voice across hundreds of miles. The same voice now corrupted, weaponized, used to murder. Webb's corpse taps the glass. Begin. I flip the switches. The main array powers up with a deep hum that vibrates through the floor. Every relay station within 300 miles will receive this. Every survivor with a working radio. My final audience. The red live indicator blinks on. I open my mouth. Nothing comes out. What do you say when your words will teach monsters how to think like humans? When every emotion you express, every fear you reveal, becomes ammunition against your own species? Eli. Sarah's decomposing face fills the camera monitor. You promised. The clock is ticking. 2 hours, 50 minutes. I close my eyes, take a breath, and make a choice. My name is Eli Monroe, I begin, voice steady. This is my final transmission from Bunker 7. If you're hearing this, I need you to understand something about the infected. Something I learned too late. The corpses lean closer, hungry for data. They're not mindless anymore. They're listening, learning. They've formed a collective consciousness that studies our broadcasts, mimics our voices, and uses our own trust against us. They've been doing it for months, maybe longer. Webb's corpse shifts, uncomfortable, but they don't stop me. I've been their teacher. Every broadcast I sent, trying to keep hope alive, I was feeding them information, teaching them how we think, how we communicate, what makes us human, and they used it to hunt, used my voice to lure survivors to their deaths. My throat tightens. If you're listening, Northern Refuge Convoy, do not come here. This is a trap. I repeat, this bunker is compromised. The infected are waiting. Find another route. Abandon these coordinates. That's not what we agreed, Webb growls through the glass. I ignore him. But here's what they don't understand, what they can't learn from broadcasts. I lean into the microphone. Humanity isn't just about communication or cooperation or trust. It's about sacrifice, about choosing to die so others can live. The corpses exchange glances, uncertain. The infected think they can become human by learning our patterns, but being human isn't a pattern, it's a choice. And I'm making mine right now. My hand moves to the control panel, to a button I've seen 1,000 times but never touched, the one Webb showed me during our first week, the one marked Reactor Emergency Override. There's a failsafe, I continue, watching realization dawn on the infected faces. If the reactor detects a containment breach, it automatically initiates a meltdown sequence, floods the core chamber with coolant. The resulting steam explosion will collapse the bunker and create an EMP pulse that reaches 12 miles. I press the button. Alarms scream throughout the facility. Red emergency lights flash to amber. A computerized voice echoes through the speakers. Reactor containment breach detected. Core meltdown in T-minus 15 minutes. Evacuation protocol initiated. The infected surge toward the booth. Webb slams against the glass, and I can see genuine fear in his dead eyes. Not the hive's fear, but Webb's, the fragment of him still trapped inside. You'll kill everyone, Sarah's corpse shrieks. No, I say calmly into the microphone, still broadcasting. I'll kill us, just us. The bunker is 15 miles from the nearest settlement. The meltdown will sterilize this location, destroy the communications array, and eliminate this hive node. The EMP will wipe out any infected within 12 miles who've synchronized with your network. The booth shudders as the infected throw themselves against it. The steel shutters groan, but hold. But here's the thing about sacrifice, I continue, my voice cutting through the chaos. You can't learn it from studying us. You can't replicate it, because it requires something you absorb from us, but never understood. The alarms crescendo. The temperature is rising. I can feel the reactor 3 floors below beginning its death spiral. It requires love. The word hangs in the air. The infected stop their assault, motionless, processing. I loved you, I say, looking directly at Webb's corpse. All of you. You were my family down here. And watching you die broke something in me I'll never get back. But I won't let what you've become hurt anyone else. I won't let your deaths be weaponized. Tears stream down my face. So I'm staying, and you're staying, and in 14 minutes, this ends. The computerized voice updates, T-minus 14 minutes to core breach. Webb's corpse sags against the glass. The other infected begin backing away, retreating toward the blast door. The hive is cutting its losses, abandoning this node to preserve the larger network. But Webb doesn't move. Eli, his broken voice says, and for the first time, it doesn't sound like mine. It sounds like him. Thank you. The fragment, the real Webb, surfacing one last time. I'm sorry I left you alone, I whisper back. You weren't alone. His hand presses against the glass. I heard. Every broadcast kept me company in here, in the dark. The other infected are fleeing up the access tunnel now, abandoning Webb's body. The hive has released him, deemed him non-essential, but without the collective consciousness animating him, his corpse should collapse. Instead, Webb remains standing. There's something else, he struggles to say. The hive, it lied. The reactor doesn't need two people. My blood freezes. It needs a manual override at the core. Someone to open the coolant valves. I can do it. Webb's body remembers. What are you saying? His dead eyes find mine. Clear, lucid. Run, Eli. Get to the surface. I'll finish this. You can still escape. To minus 12 minutes. Webb, no. You taught me something, he says. Through all those broadcasts, you taught me hope, even in here, even dead. So let me give that back. Let me be human one more time. He turns toward the reactor corridor. His body moves with terrible purpose, each step a battle against decomposition and gravity. Northern Refuge will hear your warning, he calls back. They'll find another way. You saved them. Now, save yourself. T-minus 11 minutes. The steel shutters retract. The booth door unseals. Webb's corpse disappears into the darkness, heading toward the reactor core, and I'm left with an impossible choice. Run and possibly survive, or stay and make sure the reactor fails, even if it means dying with him. The emergency frequency crackles. Bunker 7, this is Northern Refuge. We received your warning. Altering course. Thank you, you saved our lives. The child's voice again. Thank you, Mr. Monroe. I look at the exit corridor, then at the reactor corridor where Webb vanished. I'm running before the decision fully forms. Not toward the exit, toward the reactor corridor, toward Webb. The alarms make thinking impossible. Amber lights strobe across walls that seem to pulse with heat. The bunker is waking up, preparing to die, and I can feel it in the metal beneath my boots, a vibration that builds with each second. T-minus 10 minutes to core breach. Webb's trail is easy to follow. He's leaving pieces of himself behind, fragments of dried tissue, dark smears on the walls where he's braced himself. His body is falling apart, but he's still moving forward, still trying to reach the reactor. I take the emergency stairs 3 at a time. Down, always down. The temperature climbs with each level. By the second sub-level, sweat soaks through my clothes. By the third, the air is thick enough to choke on. The reactor level door stands open. Beyond it, the corridor glows with that distinctive blue-white light of Cherenkov radiation. The core is already destabilizing, particles dancing in the coolant water like luminescent ghosts. Webb's corpse kneels at the primary coolant valve, a massive wheel that requires hydraulic assistance under normal circumstances. His hands grip the metal, but he's not strong enough. The body is too far gone. Muscles have lost their tension. Ligaments have dried and cracked. He sees me. Something like relief flashes across what remains of his face. You shouldn't be here, he rasps. Neither should you. I grab the valve wheel beside him. Together, we pull. Nothing. T-minus 9 minutes. The metal is hot, already burning my palms, but I grip harder, throwing my full weight into it. Webb does the same, and for a moment we're back in the gym topside, spotting each other on the bench press, pushing past exhaustion because giving up wasn't in the vocabulary. The valve groans, shifts, quarter turn. Again, I shout over the alarms. We pull, another quarter turn. The pressure gauge needle twitches. Not enough. We need a full 90-degree rotation to trigger the emergency coolant flood. Webb's hands are slipping. The decomposed flesh can't maintain grip. I watch his fingers slide off the wheel, taking skin with them, exposing bone underneath. Can't Hold, he whispers. I look around desperately. The reactor room is sparse, just the core chamber, control panels, and safety equipment. My eyes land on an emergency fire axe mounted on the wall. An idea forms, horrible, necessary. Webb, I need you to trust me. I grab the axe. His eyes widen, understanding and acceptance in equal measure. Do it, he says. I swing the axe into the valve wheel's spoke, wedging it in place. Then I drive the handle through Webb's ribcage, using his body as an anchor point. His corpse spasms but doesn't cry out. Can't feel pain, just mechanics now. To -8 minutes. Using the axe as a lever with Webb's body as the fulcrum, I pull with everything I have. The valve turns, 30 degrees, 45. The pressure gauge climbs. Coolant begins flooding the core chamber, but too slowly. More, Webb gasps. Need full rotation. I'm screaming now, muscles tearing, vision going white at the edges. The valve hits 60 degrees, 70. The axe handle is bending. Webb's ribcage is collapsing under the pressure. 80 degrees. The handle snaps. I fall backward, hitting the floor hard enough to see stars. Through blurred vision, I watch Webb's body slump forward, impaled on the broken axe handle, fingers still reaching for the valve. We failed. 8 minutes left and the valve is stuck at 80 degrees. Not enough pressure. The meltdown will continue, but the EMP won't generate at full strength. The blast radius will shrink, maybe 6 miles instead of 12. The infected outside that radius will survive. Learn from this. Adapt. T-7 minutes. I crawl toward Webb's corpse. His eyes are still moving, tracking me. The fragment of consciousness that makes him Webb instead of just another puppet. Sorry, I choke out. I'm sorry, I couldn't. His hand moves, slow, deliberate, pointing. I follow his gaze to the secondary control panel. Emergency manual override. A red lever marked catastrophic coolant dump. Warning, explosive decompression. My engineering training kicks in. A catastrophic dump would flood the core chamber instantly, but the thermal shock would create a steam explosion powerful enough to finish turning the valve. But anyone in this room when that lever gets pulled will be scalded to death in seconds. Webb's hand drops. He's used the last of his strength pointing, saving me one final time by showing me the way out. Go, he whispers. I'll pull it. You run. To -6 minutes. I should run. Every survival instinct screams at me to take the exit, seal the blast door, let Webb's sacrifice mean something, but I'm looking at his face, at the fear in his eyes. Not fear of death. He's already dead. Fear of being alone when it happens. Fear of facing that final moment with no one who remembers him as human. I've been alone for 4 months. I know what that fear tastes like. I sit down next to him, put my hand on what's left of his shoulder. What are you doing? Webb's eyes are wide. Keeping you company, I say quietly, like you did for me, all those months. To -5 minutes. You'll die. I know. His broken jaw works, trying to form words. Finally, thank you. I pull the red lever. The world becomes steam and screaming metal. The coolant dump hits the superheated core with the force of a detonation. The valve wheel spins freely now, no resistance, completing its rotation as water flashes to vapor. The pressure wave hits us like a wall. I feel my skin burning, lungs filling with superheated air. But through the pain, I hear it. The core shutting down. The controlled collapse. The electromagnetic pulse building in the reactor chamber, preparing to surge outward in a wave that will erase every infected consciousness within 12 miles. Webb's hand finds mine in the chaos, squeezes once. Then the EMP detonates. The lights die. The alarms cut off mid-shriek. Every electrical system in the bunker dies instantly, including the computers monitoring my vital signs from the medical bay, the cameras recording this moment, the radio equipment that's been my voice for 287 days. Darkness, silence, heat. And in that final second before the steam takes me, I hear Webb's voice, clear, human, free. See you on the other side, brother. I wake up screaming. The fact that I wake up at all is the first impossible thing. The second is that I'm not dead. The third is that someone is holding me down and they're warm and they have a heartbeat. Easy, easy, you're okay. A woman's voice, young, panicked. Don't move. You've got second-degree burns over 40% of your body. My vision clears slowly. I'm staring at a concrete ceiling I don't recognize. Not the bunker. The air smells different, fresh, with an undertone of pine and wood smoke. Natural air. Surface air. Where my throat feels like I've swallowed broken glass. You're in Northern Refuge Medical Tent. The woman comes into focus. Mid-20s, dark hair tied back, wearing salvaged paramedic gear. We found you 3 days ago. When we got to the bunker coordinates, the whole site was collapsed. Radiation readings were through the roof, but the EMP signature was unmistakable. 3 days. I've been unconscious for 3 days. We sent a scout team to investigate, she continues, checking an IV line running into my arm. They found the access tunnel partially intact, and they found you 20 feet from the blast door, barely alive. You must have crawled out somehow before the main collapse. I don't remember crawling, don't remember anything after the steam hit, just Webb's hand in mine, and then nothing. Where's Webb? The words come out before I can stop them. Her expression shifts, sympathetic. We didn't find anyone else. I'm sorry. Of course not. Webb stayed at the reactor core, stayed to make sure the valve completed its rotation. Even if pieces of him survived the steam explosion, the structure collapse would have buried everything. He got his soldier's burial after all, entombed in the earth with the mission complete. The broadcast, I rasp. Did you? We got it. Your final transmission reached every settlement within 300 miles. She adjusts my blankets. You saved a lot of people. The infected network in this region went dark immediately after the EMP. The ones that didn't die outright became disorganized again. Mindless. We've been able to clear entire sectors. I close my eyes. It worked. Webb's sacrifice worked. The hive node is destroyed, but I can feel the weight of it settling over me like a burial shroud. 287 days of broadcasts, and my last one taught the infected more than all the others combined. I showed them what sacrifice looks like, what love looks like. What if they learned from that, too? There's something else, the medic says carefully. We've been picking up strange transmissions. Not from the bunker, that site is dead, but from other locations, other bunkers, maybe, or survivor camps. They're using voices we recognize, voices of people we've lost. My blood goes cold. What are they saying? They're calling for help, describing safe locations, using the exact phrasing you used in your broadcasts. She meets my eyes. Whatever was in that bunker, whatever you destroyed, I don't think it was the only one. I think there are more nodes, more hive minds learning from each other. I struggle to sit up. Pain lances through my torso, but I push through it. How many transmissions? At least 7 distinct sources. We've triangulated 3 of them, all government bunkers, just like yours. All broadcasting using voices of trusted community members. 7 nodes. 7 hive minds coordinating, learning, adapting. I killed one. But the network is bigger than I thought, and now it knows about sacrifice, about love, about the depths humans will go to protect each other. I taught them our greatest strength, and they'll use it against us. We need to warn people, I say. Send out a general alert. Tell them not to trust familiar voices on the radio, not to respond to coordinates from bunkers. We already have. She pulls out a small tablet, salvaged tech, carefully shielded from EMP, shows me a map with red dots marking the known hive transmission sources. But here's the problem. Some of those transmissions are coming from places where we know survivors are holed up. Real survivors, not infected. How do we tell people to ignore cries for help when some of them might be genuine? The perfect trap. Mix real distress calls with false ones. Make it impossible to distinguish between human and hive. Force survivors to choose between paranoia and compassion. They're not just learning tactics. They're learning psychological warfare. There's more, the medic continues. One of the transmissions, it's using your voice. My stomach drops. What? She plays an audio file on the tablet. My voice fills the tent, clear and steady. This is Eli Monroe, broadcasting from an emergency shelter. Bunker 7 was compromised, but I escaped. I'm establishing a new safe zone at the following coordinates. All survivors are welcome. We have supplies, medical equipment, and hope. Don't give up. We're still fighting. It sounds exactly like me. Same inflections, same warmth, the same tone I used for 287 days to keep people alive. But I didn't say those words. They recorded everything, I whisper. Every broadcast. They have enough samples to generate anything they want in my voice. Can you counter it? Make another broadcast explaining what happened? I shake my head. That's what they're waiting for. Any transmission I make, they'll learn from, study, use to improve their mimicry. The more I talk, the better they get at being me. We're silent for a long moment. Outside the tent, I can hear the sounds of the refugee camp, children playing, people talking, the normal rhythms of survival, life continuing despite everything. So what do we do? The medic asks. I look at the map on her tablet. 7 red dots, 7 hive nodes, each one learning from the others, building a distributed consciousness across hundreds of miles, and somewhere out there, my voice is calling survivors into traps. We go silent, I say finally. No more radio broadcasts, no more long-range communication. We go back to messengers, to physical contact, to ways of communicating they can't infiltrate. That'll set us back months, maybe years. We've relied on radio coordination to organize supply lines, rescue operations, everything. I know, but it's the only way. I meet her eyes. They learned humanity from our voices, so we stopped giving them our voices. We communicate in ways that require physical presence, handwritten notes, face-to-face meetings, human contact. They can't fake. She considers this, nods slowly. It'll be harder, slower. Yes, but we'll survive, and eventually we'll figure out how to fight them. How to destroy the other nodes. Will you help us? The question hangs in the air. I think about Webb in the reactor room, about Sarah and Danny and all the others whose bodies became puppets for something that learned to think by listening to me. I think about my voice out there in the dark, calling people to their deaths. Yes, I say, but not behind a microphone, never again behind a microphone. She smiles slightly, extends her hand. I'm Rachel, by the way. Welcome to Northern Refuge, Eli Monroe, the living one. I shake her hand. Her grip is strong, real, human. Outside, someone starts singing, an old song from before the outbreak. Others join in, harmonizing. No radios, no broadcasts, just human voices raised together. It's the most beautiful sound I've heard in 287 days. 2 weeks later, I'm standing in what used to be a high school library, staring at a wall covered in maps and red string. Northern Refugees Command Center, 50 survivors working around the clock to coordinate defense, supply runs, and reconnaissance. All without using a single radio transmission. Another settlement went dark, Rachel reports, marking a location on the map with black tape. Cedar Ridge, population 43. They responded to a distress call 3 days ago. When our runners got there, the whole place was overrun. That makes 11 settlements in 2 weeks, 11 communities that heard familiar voices crying for help and couldn't resist responding. The hive is hunting efficiently now, using our own compassion as a weapon. Did they leave any recordings, I ask? Rachel hands me a small digital recorder, carefully shielded in a Faraday cage. One survivor made it out, recorded this before he died from his wounds. I press play. Static, then voices. Multiple versions of me speaking in overlapping harmony. Come to us. We have medicine. We have safety. We have hope. Trust us. We're still Eli. We're still human. Come home. The word home echoes with 14 different inflections. 14 voices that were once my colleagues, now synchronized into something that sounds both beautiful and utterly wrong. I kill the playback. They're coordinating. The nodes are sharing data, refining their approach. It's worse than that. Rachel pulls up a handwritten report. We intercepted a survivor trying to reach one of the bunker coordinates. He claimed he'd been communicating with his daughter for 3 weeks. She died in the first outbreak. But the voice on the radio knew things, personal things, memories, inside jokes, things only she would know. My skin crawls. They're mining social connections, using the infected's residual memories to create perfect impersonations. How do we fight that? She looks exhausted. Everyone does. Fighting an enemy you can't trust your ears around is wearing them down. I study the map. 7 confirmed hive nodes, each one broadcasting variations of trusted voices, but there's a pattern emerging. The bunkers are all Cold War-era facilities, built within a specific time frame, using similar communications equipment. They're not learning from scratch, I realize. They're using the existing infrastructure. The bunkers were networked during the Cold War, designed to maintain communication even during nuclear strikes. The infected aren't creating this network, they're reactivating an old one. Rachel leans closer. Meaning what? Meaning there's a central hub. Somewhere, there's a primary facility that was designed to coordinate all the others. A command center. I trace lines between the 7 known nodes, looking for the geometric center. If we find it and destroy it, we might be able to disrupt the entire network. That's a big if, an even bigger might. She crosses her arms. We barely survived taking down one node. How do we assault a command center that's probably crawling with infected? I don't have an answer, not yet. The door bursts open. A runner, face flushed from sprinting. We've got a situation. Someone just walked into camp claiming to be from Bunker 12. Says he has critical information about the hive network. Bunker 12? Rachel checks her list. That's not on our map of confirmed nodes. He's wearing a military uniform, has the right credentials, but what? The runner swallows hard. He wants to speak specifically to Eli, says they used to work together. Every instinct screams trap, but curiosity and the desperate need for answers pulls me toward the door. Bring him in, but keep weapons ready. 5 minutes later, a man enters the library flanked by armed guards. Military bearing, late 40s, graying hair. He's wearing the same uniform Webb wore, with sergeant stripes on his sleeve, but his eyes are clear, alert, human. He looks directly at me. Eli Monroe, I've been listening to your broadcast for months. I'm Sergeant Daniel Cross from Bunker 12, and I know how to kill the hive. Rachel's hand moves toward her sidearm. How did you survive this long without getting infected? Bunker 12 was built differently, deeper, better shielded. The infection couldn't reach us underground. Cross pulls out a weathered folder. But we've been monitoring the network, studying it. Your final broadcast from Bunker 7, the reactor meltdown, that gave us the data we needed. He spreads papers across the table. Technical diagrams, radio frequency charts, maps showing electromagnetic patterns across the region. The hive isn't just using the old Cold War network, Cross continues. It's evolved into something new, a distributed consciousness that uses radio waves as neural pathways. Every infected within range of a broadcasting node becomes part of the network. They're not separate entities anymore. They're all one organism spread across hundreds of miles. I study the diagrams. The implications are staggering. If they're all connected, then destroying individual nodes won't stop them. They'll just reroute through the remaining infrastructure. Exactly, but there's a vulnerability. Cross points to a specific frequency on the chart. The hive maintains coherence using a carrier wave, a baseline signal that synchronizes all the nodes. Disrupt that signal, and the entire consciousness collapses. The infected revert to their mindless state. Rachel leans in. Where's the carrier wave coming from? That's the problem. It's mobile. The hive learned from your EMP attack. The command center isn't stationary anymore. It's being broadcast from a moving source, probably a vehicle with portable transmission equipment. My stomach sinks. How do we find a mobile transmitter in a territory spanning hundreds of square miles? Cross meets my eyes. We use bait, something the hive wants badly enough to reveal its location. What could they possibly want that badly? His expression is grim. You, Eli. They want you. You're the voice that started this, the one who taught them how to think. In their twisted way, they see you as their creator, their parent. The room goes cold. That's why they're broadcasting in your voice, Cross continues. Not just as camouflage, as imitation, flattery. They're trying to become you. And if you broadcast it again, if you revealed your location, every infected in the network would converge on that point. That's suicide, Rachel snaps. No, I say quietly, an idea forming. That's an opportunity. I turn to Cross. If we could lure the mobile command center into an EMP kill zone, somewhere we control, somewhere we can trap it, could we end this? Theoretically, but you'd need to broadcast from a location with enough strategic value to make the hive commit its resources, and you'd need to keep transmitting long enough for them to triangulate your position and move the command center into range. How long? Minimum 30 minutes, maybe an hour. An hour of broadcasting. An hour of every infected in the network converging on my location. An hour of being bait for a trap that might not work. There's an old radio tower, Rachel says slowly, 40 miles north, pre-outbreak commercial station. If we could reactivate it, get it broadcasting at full power, the hive would know it's a trap. I interrupt. They're not stupid. We'd need to make it convincing, make them believe I'm actually trying to rebuild, to start over. Cross nods. You'd have to sell it. Make them think you're desperate enough, hopeful enough, stupid enough to try again. I look at the map, at the 11 black marks representing settlements that died because they trusted voices they shouldn't have. Set it up, I say. I'll do it. Rachel grabs my arm. Eli, if this goes wrong, I'll die doing what I was always meant to do, using my voice to save people. I meet her eyes. But this time, I'll do it knowing exactly what I'm sacrificing. Cross extends his hand. We move at dawn. I'll have my team prep the EMP charges. This ends in 3 days, one way or another. I shake his hand. His grip is firm, real, but as he turns to leave, something nags at me. Something about his eyes, about the way he knew exactly what the hive wanted. How did Bunker 12 survive untouched for this long? And why is he really here? Day 3 out of 4. I'm standing in the control room of Tower 7, a commercial radio station that hasn't broadcast in 3 years. The equipment is ancient but functional. Cross's team spent 72 hours getting it operational, rigging EMP charges throughout the structure, setting up the trap. If this works, we kill the mobile command center and collapse the hive network. If it doesn't, I become the centerpiece of the largest feeding frenzy in post-outbreak history. Through the window, I can see the kill zone. 3 miles of open farmland with no cover, ringed by hills where Rachel's people wait with detonators. The EMP charges are buried along the access roads, set to create an overlapping blast radius that will fry every infected consciousness within 5 miles. 10 minutes until broadcast, Rachel says through the hardline intercom. No wireless. Nothing the hive can intercept. Cross stands beside me, checking the transmission equipment one final time. He's been professional, helpful, efficient. But I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong, the way he moves, the way he breathes. Too measured, too controlled. You ever wonder, I say casually, how Bunker 12 really stayed clean all this time? His hands pause on the control panel. We were lucky, better shielding. Luck runs out eventually. I watch his reflection in the darkened monitor. Unless you had help, unless someone told the hive to leave you alone. Silence stretches between us. Outside, the sun is setting, painting the farmland gold and red. You're smart, Eli, Cross says finally. His voice is different now, flatter. The hive chose well when they learned from you. My blood freezes. You're one of them. I was. Parts of me still are. He turns to face me. His eyes are clear, human, but underneath, something else moves. Bunker 12 wasn't spared. It was converted, upgraded. I'm what happens when the infection learns to coexist with consciousness instead of destroying it. A hybrid. An evolution. He smiles, and it's almost genuine. The hive realized that destroying human intelligence was wasteful, so it learned to merge with it. I have my memories, my personality, my free will, but I'm also connected to the network. I experience both states simultaneously. Why tell me this? Why help set up this trap? Because I want to. Cross's expression is earnest. That's the part you don't understand. The hive didn't destroy my humanity. It expanded it. I can feel every infected consciousness in the network. Their hunger, their confusion, their desperate need to understand what they've become. And I can feel your broadcasts, Eli, the hope you gave people, the connection. He gestures to the equipment. This trap won't work the way you think. The mobile command center is already here. It's been here since yesterday, waiting in the hills with Rachel's people. My heart stops. No, she's not infected. None of them are. But I told the hive where to position itself for optimal response time. When you broadcast, when you draw every infected in the region here, the command center will coordinate the assault perfectly. This station becomes a feeding ground, and the hive learns everything it needs from watching you die. I back toward the door. Cross doesn't stop me. But here's what the hive doesn't know, he continues. I lied to them too. The EMP charges, they're real. But I added a second trigger, one that activates when I transmit a specific frequency, a frequency only I know. I freeze. Why would you betray the hive? Because I've been both human and hive, and humanity is better. His eyes glisten. The network is magnificent, Eli, but it's cold, empty. It doesn't have what we have. What I lost when I was infected, and what I've been trying to rebuild ever since. What's that? Choice. He sits at the broadcast console. The hive operates on inevitability, survival, efficiency, but humans choose to sacrifice, choose to love, choose to die for something bigger. The hive can't understand that because it never had it. So this whole thing is real. The trap works. The EMP will fire. The command center will die. But not because you're bait, Eli, because I am. Cross flips switches, activating the broadcast array. I'm going to transmit, draw them in, and when they're all here, when the mobile command center is in position, I'll trigger the EMP and destroy the network, including the part of me that's connected to it. That'll kill you. I know, but it'll be my choice, my sacrifice, the most human thing I've done since I was infected. He hands me a detonator. This is the manual override. If I fail, if the hive stops me before I can transmit the trigger frequency, you press this. It'll detonate everything. How do I know you're telling the truth? Cross pulls up security footage on the monitors. I see the farmland, the hills, the access roads, and moving through the darkness, thousands of infected converging from every direction. The command center vehicle sits on the northern ridge, a converted military transport bristling with transmission equipment. Rachel's voice crackles through the intercom. Eli, we've got movement. Massive movement. The infected are coming. Did you start broadcasting? Not yet, I reply, staring at Cross. Then how did they... Her voice cuts off. She sees them too. Understands. Cross, you bastard. Sorry, Rachel, Cross says into the intercom. But this was always the plan, my plan. He turns to me. You have 30 seconds to evacuate. Get to the basement. Take the tunnel to the outer perimeter. By the time you reach safety, this will be over. I'm not leaving you. Yes, you are. Because if you stay, you die, and your voice dies with you. Humanity needs that voice, Eli. Needs someone to remember what hope sounds like. He grips my shoulders. I've listened to every broadcast. You kept me human when the hive tried to erase what I was. Now let me return the favor. The infected are entering the kill zone. Hundreds, thousands, all moving toward the tower with synchronized precision. Cross sits at the microphone. Go. Now. I run. Down the stairs, through the darkened corridors, into the basement where the escape tunnel yawns like a throat. Behind me, I hear Cross's voice over the loudspeakers. Hello, everyone. This is Sergeant Daniel Cross, broadcasting from Tower 7. I have information about Eli Monroe's location, about human settlements, about weaknesses in your defenses. Come closer. Come listen. I'm in the tunnel when the transmission changes. Cross's voice shifts, and underneath it, I hear the carrier wave, the baseline frequency that synchronizes the hive network. He's broadcasting it, amplifying it, drawing every infected consciousness into a single focused point, the tower. I emerge from the tunnel exit a quarter-mile away, turn back to see the structure surrounded by a sea of infected, pressing against walls, climbing over each other, drawn by Cross's voice like moths to flame. Then Cross speaks one final time, his voice clear and human. For what it's worth, I choose this. I choose you. I choose hope. The world turns white. The EMP detonates with such force I feel it in my bones. Every light for miles dies. The radio tower collapses, and 5,000 infected consciousnesses disconnect simultaneously, reverting to mindless husks that stumble and fall like puppets with cut strings. Silence. I stand in the darkness with tears streaming down my face. Cross is gone. The mobile command center is destroyed. The network is broken. Rachel finds me an hour later. Did you know? No, but he did. He knew exactly what he was sacrificing. We stand together, watching the tower's ruins smolder. What now? She asks. I think about Cross's final words, about choice, about hope, about voices that refuse to be silenced. Now we rebuild, I say, but differently. We teach people to verify identities through methods the hive can't fake. We create codes, physical tokens, human verification. And when it's safe, when we're sure, maybe we broadcast again, but carefully, wisely. Will you broadcast? I look at the ruins, at the thousands of bodies littering the farmland, finally at rest. Someday, when I find the right words, when I can honor what Cross did, what Webb did, what all of them did. Rachel nods. People will need to hear from you eventually. They'll need to know the real Eli Monroe is still out there. Then they'll hear from me, but on my terms, with truth they can verify. We walk back toward Northern Refuge as dawn breaks. Behind us, the dead tower stands like a tombstone for the voice of the hive. Ahead, survivors gather around a cooking fire, sharing stories without radios, without broadcasts, just human voices, real, honest, alive. Transmission Archive, Day 304, Survivor Testimony. If you're hearing this recording, you found the archive. You know what happened at Tower 7. You know about Cross's sacrifice, about the network, about how close we came to losing everything. Maybe you're wondering what to do with this information, whether to trust voices on the radio, whether Eli Monroe was a hero or a cautionary tale. Here's what I learned. Every voice carries it a choice. To build or destroy, to connect or isolate, to hope or surrender. What choice will you make? If you want to hear more stories from survivors, real accounts, verified testimonies, voices that matter, you know where to find them. Keep listening, keep verifying, keep choosing hope. And if you're out there, listening in your own bunker, your own refuge, your own desperate last stand, leave your mark. Comment your location. Let others know they're not alone. Not through broadcasts, through human connection. This is the end of Eli Monroe's transmission. But it doesn't have to be the end of yours. Would you have made the same choice? What would your final broadcast say?